Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Want me to proceed?
Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. In December, I, along with a delegation of the legislature, attended the COP21 UN Climate Summit in Paris. What was clear from the meetings and the discussions in Paris is that California continues to be the global leader in pursuing environmental policies to reduce climate change and address the sources that cause it. To date, those policies have mostly focused on reducing CO2, the most significant long-term driver of climate change. This legislative proposal represents the next step in those efforts to establish a goal to reduce short-lived climate pollutants that are both harmful to the air quality and are significant to our health and significant climate forcers. These pollutants include black carbon, methane, and fluorinated gases are among the most harmful emissions to both human health and global climate change. Although they remain in the atmosphere for a shorter duration than CO2, their impact is significantly much more dramatic. In 2014, the legislature approved my SB 605, which created a scientific report on short-lived climate pollutants, identifying major sources of emissions, as well as policies and strategies to achieve significant attainable reductions. As a follow-up to SB 605, this bill will implement that strategy with the goal of reducing black carbon emissions by 50%, methane by 40%, and F gases by 40% by the year 2030. So why have we taken this challenge? Because we frankly cannot afford not to. There is an urgent need to develop a strategy to address and reduce these deadly pollutants. Extensive research also links particulate pollution and increased ozone levels to severe and chronic health conditions such as cancer, heart disease, and asthma. These impacts are, again, most profound in low-income areas and amongst our children. The reality is that the greatest impact on the greenhouse gas emissions and pollution is often felt by the most disadvantaged and vulnerable communities in our state. I represent, along with Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia, Southeast LA, in the shadow of the 710 freeway, surrounded by railroads and heavy industry, the next to large port complex in the country. It is the region identified by the federal air quality standards as one of the worst in the nation. And so we know 1 in 11 children in LA County suffers from asthma. For black children, the number is 1 in 4. The impact of air pollution on children is not limited to just heart and lung problems. Asthma is now the leading medical cause of absenteeism in LA schools, impacting children's learning and development as well. According to the 2015 State of the Air report from the American Lung Association, the top 5 most polluted cities in the United States are all in California. A Southern California Children's Health Study that examined the long-term effects of particulate pollution on teenagers found that those who grew up in more polluted areas face increased risk of having underdeveloped lungs, which may never recover to their full capacity. So, members, this is an important issue. The issue of clean air, clean fuels, and achieving the state's ambitious carbon reduction goals is one of the greatest priorities facing the state legislature. We do know that there is a number of industries that are impacted, and we're working with them, continue to work with them as this bill moves forward, and as we figure out the policies of our greenhouse gas emissions monies, and those discussions are being had by both leadership and our governor. So we see this as an important vehicle to allow it to move forward so that we can finally address the issue of short-lived climate pollutants in California. I respectfully ask for a vote.
Thank you, Senator. There is motion and a second. Witnesses, please keep it brief.
We'll do that. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Quentin Foster again on behalf of the California Environmental Justice Alliance. And there are 2 reasons why this bill is so critical to environmental justice communities. First, there does exist a climate gap. People of color are more likely to live nearest GHG emitting facilities with high emissions of co-pollutants such as particulate matter. Overall, people of color experience over 70% more PM emissions within 2.5 miles of these major GHG emitters. Second, the pollutants that would be regulated by SB 1383 are directly harming the health and quality of life of the residents in these neighborhoods across California. For example, the 710 freeway, as the senator noted, currently averages over 1,000 diesel trucks per hour on the Long Beach Freeway and emits black carbon, a super pollutant, through communities like Compton, Paramount, Linwood, Southgate, Bell Gardens, Vernon, Commerce, and East Los Angeles, all low-income communities, all communities of color. As the senator stated, we cannot afford not to take on this challenge. We believe that all Californians deserve to breathe, work, live, and play in an environment where your lifespan isn't predicated on your zip code and where access to cleaner air becomes the norm, not the exception. For these reasons, we support this bill and ask for your aye vote in committee today. Thank you.
I'm Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Dr. Mark Horton. I'm a pediatrician and public health professional, previous director of the State Department of Public Health and state health officer in California. I'm sure you're well aware by now of the special category of pollutants that we call super pollutants, black carbon, methane, and fluorinated gases. They're super because they are many, many times as powerful as carbon dioxide in trapping atmospheric heat. Causing. I became first aware of the direct health impact of these kinds of pollutants when I was health officer during the Southern California fires of 2008. During that time, while the fires were engaged, we were able to work with the Centers for Disease Control and local hospitals to monitor emergency room visits by individuals with respiratory conditions. As we expected, the visits skyrocketed. I was witnessing in real time the direct impact of exposure to black carbon on the health of individuals with chronic respiratory conditions like asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Now, we're certainly concerned about the impact of these pollutants on global warming. It represents together as much as 40% of the total impact of global warming. But we're very concerned, and I particularly as a physician are concerned about the health of the individuals that are impacted by the daily exposure to pollutants like black carbon on their respiratory diseases. We can do better than this. So solutions to these problems can be straightforward and simple. I'm reminded of a project in West Oakland where the Port Authority, working with local community groups and the truckers, were able to reduce the amount of time the truckers were allowed to idle their engines from hours upon hours down to 30 minutes, significantly impacting the health of the air in that condition. So the point is, there are simple, straightforward solutions to reducing the burning of materials and fuels that produce black soot or black carbon, of capturing methane, and of providing alternatives to fluorinated gases. So every day we fail to put limits on these pollutants, we are having impacts directly on the health of the hundreds of thousands of individuals in California who have respiratory conditions. It's time to act. Please pass 1383. Thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support?
Matt Klopfenstein with the Union of Concerned Scientists in support.
Autumn Ogden with the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, also in support.
Rocio Gonzalez on behalf of the California Pan-Ethnic Health Network in strong support.
Jenna Price on behalf of the California League of Conservation Voters in support.
Jennifer Fearing on behalf of the Center for Food Safety in support.
Ami Raval on behalf of the Asian Pacific Environmental Network in support.
Bonnie Holmes-Jen on behalf of the American Lung Association in California in support. And we also have over 35 health and medical organizations, including American Academy of Pediatrics, California Medical Association, California Black Health Network, Dignity Health, and many others on a letter, and dozens of medical professionals also.
Thank you.
Melissa Romero with Californians Against Waste. This bill is important in reducing the methane emissions from landfills, which produce over 3 times as much as.
Thank you.
Brent Newell for the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment in strong support because the dairy industry alone emitted more than twice that of Aliso Canyon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to remind folks, for subsequent witness, it's that your name, affiliation, and support.
Vern Gehring on behalf of Food and Water Watch in support. Thank you.
Diana Vasquez with Sierra Club, California in support of the bill.
Juan Altamirano on behalf of Arwan, California in support.
Bill McGavern supporting for the Coalition for Clean Air and also for Communities for a Better Environment. They had to leave.
Thank you.
Rick Biss, Sacramento Sierra Club, Physicians for Social Responsibility, and Breathe California in support.
Mr. Josmalon for the members of series, many of which are listed there, but Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's, Levi Strauss, Seven Generations, and many other corporations in support.
Thank you.
Mark Fenstermaker for the Environmental Defense Fund in support.
Hi, Tim Valderrama with the Weideman Group on behalf of Next Gen Climate in support.
Kathy Dervin with the Public Health Institute and Center for Climate Change and Health in support.
Ed Behrens on behalf of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors in support.
Kat DeBerg with the Health Officers Association of California in support.
Annie Nodoff with the Natural Resources Defense Council in support.
John White with the Clean Power Campaign in support.
Kim Shiner on behalf of the local environmental health directors and California Compost Coalition in support. Thank you.
Carrie Timmer on behalf of a coalition including the Sierra Business Council, the Placer Land Trust, the Sierra Foothill Conservancy, and the Truckee Donner Land Trust in support. Thank you.
Danielle Kando Kaiser on behalf of Common Sense Kids Action. This is one of our star bills in strong support.
Nicole Wortelman on behalf of Social Compassion and Legislation in support.
Humberto Lugo with the Comité Cívico del Valle and the Ivan Environmental Justice Reporting Network statewide in support.
Israel Cruz with Comité Cívico del Valle in support.
Environment California, strong support.
Witnesses in opposition? Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Ed Manning with KP on behalf of the Western United Dairymen in opposition. Before I get into the substance of how it affects the dairy industry in California, which is just one of many industries, I wish we had time to talk about what the bill is about, which is short-lived climate pollutants, and the fact that it is not, or it does not fill a void for regulation of criteria pollutants. We regulate particulate, we regulate diesel particulate in particular, we regulate NOx, we regulate ozone, and those programs exist. But we don't have time to unravel that. But there are people mixing criteria pollutants and climate change, and this is a climate change bill, and I think we should address it as such. In terms of the climate change impacts, Senator Lauder authored a bill, SB 605, approximately 2 years ago that asked CARB to take a look at a plan for how to reduce the pollutants listed in this bill, short-lived climate pollutants, including methane. That report was due in January. The report was supposed to come to the legislature so that you could review it. In light of this bill, you don't have the report, and the report won't be done until October. This bill gives CARB a huge amount of authority, too much authority, without the proper constraints and understanding the impacts. In particular for the dairy industry, a couple key facts. One, 99% of dairies in California are family-owned and operated, so they're not huge corporate entities. CARB's draft report has a 75% reduction goal for dairy manure methane emissions by 2030. CDFA Secretary Karen Ross testified in front of CARB saying that the 75% reduction by 2030 scares me, and that's an administration official. CDFA estimates that there is a need for at least $100 million a year, I assume through cap and trade funding, for 5 years just to start to deal with the digester issue, to trap methane. That doesn't address composting and other opportunities. CDFA estimates that there's a need for 200 miles of new low-pressure pipelines and 55 miles of natural gas pipelines to get the biomethane, if it's going to be used as a substitute for diesel, to market, assuming you can clean it, get it in the pipeline. No finance plan, no construction plan, no CEQA exemption, et cetera. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to try to deal with the substance of the bill.
Okay, we had to cut everyone else off.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Gene Urban, I represent Waste Management. At the outset, I will say no entity has collected, transported, sorted, treated, diverted, composted, or otherwise handled solid waste, including organics, in this state. Period. End of discussion. We are opposed to 1383. It essentially impliedly repeals what you did, Mr. Chairman, and what this committee supported 2 years ago in AB 1826, which enacted a 50% reduction of green waste from landfills by 2020. It's very clear. It's 2020, 50%. You are now voting for a bill that eviscerates that and purports to authorize CARB to do this plan, which is 75% by 2020 and 90, or an effective ban, by 2025. I have no idea why you would do that. As a matter of jurisdictional prerogative, why would you repeal that which you enacted 2 years ago under your guidance and leadership in deference to a board that has adopted a plan that is wholly and utterly unrealistic? Can't be done. It will cost billions of dollars that will be paid for by your constituents. And more, as importantly, it involves notions of food waste. You don't get to 90 or 100% or an effective ban on organics from landfills unless you divert food wastes. Materially different than Christmas trees and some of the other green waste that we pick up. So by voting for this bill today, you are essentially repealing AB 1826. You're repealing the authority that you gave to Cal Recycle, and you are depositing it blindly, I would suggest, in CARB to pursue a plan that digresses substantially from what you voted for less than 2 years ago. One could ask, who's in charge? Who's on first base here? I would beg you to hold this bill, have a hearing, maybe we have it in July, and hear this bill again in August. It's premature, it's unfounded, and it's imprudent.
Thank you. Other witnesses in opposition, please state your name and your organization and your opposition.
Mike Rogie with California Manufacturers in opposition.
Amy Mogger on behalf of the California Chamber of Commerce in opposition.
Chairman and members, Cynthia Corey, California Farm Bureau in opposition.
Tricia Geringer, Agricultural Council of California in opposition.
Beth Olasso on behalf of the Agricultural Energy Consumers Association in opposition.
John Moffitt on behalf of the Milk Producers Council in opposition.
Marvin Pineda on behalf of Waste Connections in opposition.
Doug Subers on behalf of the Western States Petroleum Association in opposition.
Mikhail Scavarla on behalf of the California Council for Environmental and Economic Balance in opposition.
Lauren Noland Hajic on behalf of California Dairies, Inc. in opposition.
P. Anthony Thomas representing the California Independent Petroleum Association in opposition to another blank check to CARB.
Questions, comments to the committee or from the committee? I'll put one forward. I do believe that our solid waste goals were important. I think if we were going to get this issue taken care of, at least in terms of methane reduction, we would have needed to get the tip fee increase and a funding stream in order to interconnect those dairy digesters to make that work. That has not happened, which makes this bill all the more necessary than it was before. I would also argue that those strategies in solid waste do not necessarily address the black carbon issue, which is a direct health hazard for people around the state, particularly poor people around the state, nor the HFC issue. And so my recommendation is chair recommendation of aye, but I think this is vitally important. This is a simple bill, but one that is vitally necessary for us to tackle climate change, and appreciate the author for doing it. Mr. McCarty.
Sure. I wanted to ask either the author or the sponsor to respond to some of the issues, especially the issue about the premature nature of the bill with the report looming.
I can answer.
And secondly, with how this runs counter, not say counter, but it's stronger than our waste diversion or organic waste policy in place.
So, absolutely, and I'll tell you. Look, it's my opinion that this actually builds on the work that Senator Williams did. Now, we have to also understand that the report is final, and I can send you that final report if you like. We're just waiting on the strategy to be approved by CARB. So CARB's moving forward to do this already. This is an opportunity for us to be able to, despite the dramatic opposition and the CARB scaring tactic that seems to work often, this gives us an opportunity to have the legislature weigh in. Obviously, there's some concerns from the dairy industry. We want to make sure we get to address some of those. And despite, again, the dramatic opposition, we're actually having dialogues that we're talking about amendments and so forth. Again, this gives us an opportunity to have the legislature actually weigh in into how we achieve these goals, to ensure that the ongoing discussions around resources that are available through GGRF that are being had right now between the two houses and the governor, that this remains as remains as a source to be able to provide these resources to our dairies. Quite honestly, I agree with. We need to make sure we give them the resources they need to get a lot of this stuff done. And it is true that, and I say this publicly everywhere, our dairymen have gone the extra mile and are amongst some of our most cleanest. But however, we need to do more. And I know we need to do more, and we need to provide our skin in the game, the legislature skin, the state skin. And so that's what we're working on right now. So in terms of answering your question again, I think this builds on Senator Williams' work. And the report is final. We're just waiting on the vote of the strategy from ARB. And ARB is moving to do this already. We're going to lose an opportunity for us to weigh in as a legislature and be able to actually put the resources in there and put our skin in the game. So with that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Okay. Is there a response?
Is there questions or comments from the committee? I will ask Gene to respond.
With all due respect to the author, for whom I have enormous respect, the legislature weighed in 2014. You enacted a bill, 50% diversion by 2020. It was Mr. Chesborough. Subsequently, CARB ignored that, ignored it with their draft report and now final report in April. I guess they simply expect you to tolerate that. You appropriately enacted the policy in 2014. CARB ignored it. So let's get the chronology correct here. You are sacrificing your jurisdictional prerogative here, which you should be jealously defending, I would suggest, as opposed to relinquishing.
Other questions or comments from the committee? As I believe I was co-author for that bill, I don't see it the same way. I think that those strategies would have been effective if they had been further implemented with other strategies that were necessary, such as a tipping fee increase. Without that, they will not be effective without this bill. And mind you, that's only on one of the three pollutants that Senator Lara is attempting to address. Chair's recommendation is aye. Would you like to close, Senator?
Certainly ask for your vote.
Please call the roll.
The motion is due pass and re-refer to appropriations. Williams?
Aye.
Williams, aye. Jones? Garcia? Aye. Garcia, aye. Gomez? Hadley?
Not voting.
Hadley not voting. Harper?
No.
Harper, no. McCarty?
Aye.
McCarty, aye. Stone?
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wood? Say aye.
5-1, your bill is out. Thank you, Senator.
After